Turning now to the ceasefire standoff between Israel and Hamas. Israel is now blocking the entry of all aid into Gaza, and it has issued a threat to Hamas, warning of consequences if it does not agree to extend phase 1 of the truce. This is the scene in Rafah, in southern Gaza, where aid trucks would normally be traveling along these streets, but they're stuck on Egypt's side of the border after being denied access. The first phase of the ceasefire expired yesterday. The two sides are deadlocked now on implementing the second phase. Let's bring in the CBC's senior correspondent, Sasha Petrusik, who is live for us in Jerusalem. Sasha, what else is Israel saying about its decision to stop allowing this aid in?
Well, Linda, Israel is taking the position that its responsibility to allow aid in ended when the first phase of the ceasefire ended, which was yesterday. And so it has closed these borders. It is trying to pressure Hamas into accepting its view, Israel's view, of how this process should continue. We've seen the end of the first phase. 33 hostages were set free from Gaza. In exchange, almost 2,000 Palestinian detainees and prisoners were let go from Israeli jails. And that was supposed to be the end of the first phase. And then the two sides were supposed to negotiate the second phase, which would see the end of the war and the release of the remaining Israeli hostages, which are 59 right now. But that is not the way that Hamas is going, and Israel's trying to push it in that direction. This move to stop aid has had a reaction from not only Hamas, which is calling it cheap extortion, but also from Egypt, which is now saying that using aid is a form of collective punishment and a means of starvation in Gaza is not acceptable. So there probably will be more pushback on this, although Israel is saying that it does have the backing of the U.S. in doing this. This is what the Israeli foreign minister had to say this morning.
Due to the fact that the first phase of the temporary ceasefire was over, today we froze all the trucks that entered to Gaza Strip during the last 42 days. We will always be ready to negotiate according to our principles, but I want to emphasize the fact that we fulfilled all our commitments until the very last day.
So that is Israel's position, but the negotiations have not broken off. And in fact, Egypt is working hard as one of the mediators in all of this in Cairo to try to get things back on track. We've heard that the Israeli negotiating team may be going back to Cairo to discuss more proposals. One proposal that Israel has put forward just in the last hours is an idea that that the first phase, if it's extended, would see half of the remaining hostages released right away, and then there would be a ceasefire, a continuation of the ceasefire through Ramadan, which just started yesterday, the Muslim holy month, and then through Passover here in Israel, somewhere into the second half of April. And at that point, that Hamas would release the remaining hostages. This is one of the proposals that's on the table, but obviously there's a lot of talking that's still left to do, a lot of negotiating, and both sides are playing hardball.
And Hamas is speaking out against the blockage of aid today, as you say, calling it extortion, also describing it as a war crime. What else are we hearing from the group?
Yeah, Hamas is essentially saying that this is only going to be hurting the people in Gaza and obviously speaking out against it. Yes, it's calling it a violation of international law and a means to pressure it to agree to Israel's terms, which it said pressure will never do. This is what one of the Hamas spokespeople had to say, who one of our freelancers reached in Gaza this morning.
إغلاق المعابر ومنع المساعدات إلى قطاع غزة هي استخدام لسلاح التجويع لابتزاز المواقف السياسية من حركة حماس، وهو منافي للقوانين والقرارات الدولية، وأيضا مخالف بالأساس لاتفاق وقف إطلاق النار، وبالتالي يتحمل الاحتلال المسؤولية الكاملة عن تداعيات هذا القرار.
So obviously, both sides have dug in, but there is still room for talk. Hamas, of course, is the militant group that sparked this current conflict 16 months ago, and it is still being condemned by Israel. But it is holding some cards in the sense that it still has the hostages, and so that is a powerful one here in Israel, where there's a lot of pressure on the government to get those 59 hostages home, almost no matter what it takes. Linda?
Indeed. Thanks very much for this, Sasha Petrusik in Jerusalem.